WBC International Super Featherweight Silver Championship. Here is Andy El Tiburon Vences. Hi, Andy.
Hey, how's it going? It's actually 23, 2,
Oh
and
my
1.
goodness! See, I got it wrong. You correct me because
No worries, no worries.
you'll know better than anyone. So behind me are the three kind of featured bouts on the card, and of course Andy is in one of those. So we're going to start right away with Dylan Boker with the first question.
Hey there. Just wanted to start things off with I saw the Instagram post about the Dirty 30 finally coming, so big shout out there.
Thank you.
But I wanted to follow up on another interesting post that I saw, because you were saying that around like 6 some odd weeks ago you had lost your job, but that same evening you received the news you were fighting on Triller pay-per-view. Can you kind of talk about that whole timeline, just things happening for a reason and all that?
Oh yeah, well, like I've expressed and told everyone in professional boxing, the money's never been good since I started my professional career. So I always held on a full-time job throughout my professional career. There's never been one fight where I haven't been working a full-time job, and that's just due to the city I lived in, area I lived in was very expensive, being in the Bay Area. Just to make ends meet. I ended up getting married, ended up, continuing my life as my career went on. I've reached an age where I've moved on with my life as well. I just purchased a new home, moved the family in the new home. We're settled in the new home. And then one day at work, I received a notice from some of my supervisors. They came up to me, kind of handed me a piece of paper and said, hey, this is not from us. We're being told we got to let you go. So we're just the middleman. We're sending you the message. And at that moment, I was devastated. I just bought this new home. There was a lot of questions running in my head during that minute. I did tear up. I cried a little bit because I was just wondering, what am I going to do? What's going to happen? I have boxing, but I haven't had a fight in the past 8 months. And I think that was a lot of the frustration too when I got that message was I'm not fighting because I haven't fought, But I was in the gym every day. I've been in the gym every day, 5 to 6 days a week since, I haven't had time off. But anyways, long story short, I got that notice, and then 20 to 30 minutes later, my manager, Peter Kahn, sends a message in the group chat that we have with the whole team saying that we're fighting. The original date was June 5th. We're fighting June 5th on Triller. So I didn't know if to believe it or not. Obviously I was very happy, but I was just man, one door closes, another one opens for me. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is what I've been missing, is to be a full-time boxer for once and actually dedicate 150%. Even though I felt I've always had, maybe it's just that extra sleep, that extra rest, that extra focus. And it's just weird the way things happen. But yeah, going into this fight, it just feels awesome knowing the way this opportunity was created and happened for me.
Thanks for all the insights, man. I appreciate the time.
No worries.
All right, thanks, Dylan. We have another question from the field. Anyone with a question? Let me know. Any other questions for Andy? Last call. All right. Well, Andy, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for taking part. Remember, at the bottom of the hour, we'll have Jono Carroll. My information is in. Oh, hold on. Crystal, got a question from Crystal.
Hey, I got unmuted. Can you hear me there, Jerry? Can you hear? Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
So you know what? Just tell us a little bit about, your camp, your training, and how your preparation for this fight, and a little bit about how you feel this fight is going to go. Is it going to be a pressure fight? Or tell me also about your opponent.
Yeah, I'll elaborate on that. That's a good long one.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So my last fight was in last year of July. I remember exactly when it was, because that was a fight I felt I should have won, but I lost. It was July 7th of 2020. So it's been a while, right? People are like, he hasn't fought since last year in July. So after I took that loss, I believe I just took 2 weeks off, and I made a change in my camp as far as, there's one thing when you get one loss, you got to realize and look back what happened, what went wrong, right? You go to the drawing board, you fix whatever problems you have. But if it happens the second time with the same coach, something needs to change. You got to be realistic with yourself. Something's wrong. So after I suffered that second defeat with that same coach that I had, my conscience was just telling me, you need to change. Something needs to change. It's either you're going to change and grow, or you're going to be complacent and you're not going to go nowhere. So at that moment, I trusted my gut feeling, and I reached out to a coach who I followed only because he was so driven and hungry, and from what I've seen from his videos, he was just very deep into boxing. It seemed he was so involved in boxing, just like myself. And this was all through Instagram. I messaged my coach now, Charles Perales. He's here in Hollister, California. I sent him a message after my fight, and I said, hey, coach, how you doing? We kind of introduced ourselves, and I asked him basically for an opportunity to train together and maybe see if it works out. And he was very open arms with me. I went to the gym. It was very, very different from anything I've done with any other. First week, my arms would go back. They were killing me. I was like, geez, how am I going to do this? I've never thrown so many punches day after day after day. But I decided to make the change in coaches because it was something new. The coach was open-minded, and he knew a lot of stuff about boxing that I just haven't seen and experienced firsthand. As far as these combinations and the way to block punches, something that I've never done. I've never used my defensive hands to block punches and catch stuff. I've always relied on my distance, my reflex, my jab, kind of just my stepping, my footing, but I've never been taught the fundamental way how to incorporate in a professional fight, how to actually block punches with your hands and do both at the same time. So I fought in July 7th. I started training with this trainer in August. So since August of last year, I've been in the gym 5-6 days a week training with this new trainer. We've gone to get sparring. We've tested ourselves with some tip-top guys in the sport. One of them, the first guy we wanted to go test ourselves with, once we felt comfortable and felt we were ready, was with Carlos Balderas. Then we started getting better and started sparring different people. And then it was just the chemistry just grew within us both, where it was just we really understood each other. And as far as what I can do now and what he was confident in, his confidence in me, it's just even bigger now than before. So that's how camp's been. Camp's been just nonstop. Before this fight got announced, at the time when I still had a job, I was helping spar down in Salinas. There was a kid getting ready for one of his pro fights. So I was already sparring and kind of, running and sparring and just training every day and doing my thing. So I feel the timing of this fight was just perfect. I've been in the gym for even every single holiday. It's been December. My birthday just passed. I was in camp. We did a little thing here at the house, nothing too crazy. But camp's been good. I think the difference here that people are going to see is you can't expect the same fighter as before, just because I have a different trainer now. It's 8 months to almost a year with this new trainer. People are going to see something different. Not by even trying or forcing things. It's just going to happen. But what do I know about Carroll? I know he has a very similar record as mine as far as 2 losses. I know he's very aggressive. He's a very front-forward fighter as far as him. He's going to come head-on at you. He throws a lot of punches. He's very busy. His condition's always pretty good. So I would feel going into this fight, we prepared, not overlooking him at all. You know, I'm not sure how he feels about the fight, but from what I've, he's threw little things out here and there that he said to me as far as me not ever fighting at this level, which means, he fought for a world title and I haven't yet. But I don't feel what he's understanding is that when he fought at that world title level, he obviously fell short, which is why he's fighting me. I've always was supposed to fight. I held the WBC Continental title for 3 years in a row with my. Look at the history in boxing. There's never been one fighter that held the WBC Continental title for 3 years in a row without getting a world title shot. Now, the reason why I wasn't given that world title shot was obviously for promoter and political reasons, as people know happen in the sport of boxing. But that's not my fault why I haven't fought for an opportunity of a world title. But I believe everything happens for a reason. Just as I lost my job, as I got this opportunity, and the way things align themselves happen for a reason. But here I am fighting Carroll, someone who's been at that stage. He's been there, done that. And if you want to fight at that level, eventually you have to fight a fighter that's been at that level. So this is the fight where I'm at. I think we both have a similar record. Do we have heart? Do we have will? Yes, we do. Who has the power in the fight? I do. Who has the speed? Let's just say we both do. But what I feel the difference is going to be here, once you look at it all, is going to be the skills, the abilities, and the offense and defense selections for me versus what he's capable of. And that's really why I'm excited for the fight, is because I understand he's going based off my past fights and looking at footage and things that I've done. Like, that's the wrong thing to do. If you're looking at the past, I've flipped the 360 around since the last fight. So it's just, I'm very excited to just display my skills and what I've learned.
Do you have any type of rituals also that you do right before the fight to get ready, to prepare mentally?
Yeah, I actually, so after I make weight, I always eat Olive Garden. That's always been a ritual since I've been like 2-0. And one of the rituals I do before I fight is I go through a routine my dad's taught me as far as a warm up, how to stretch my neck. It's like a full body stretch, and then I pretty much do my thing. But I would say basically the food ritual and the warm up ritual. But other than that, everything's pretty much just mentally focused going into the fight.
You mentioned your father. How much of a role has he played in this?
My father's played a big role along with my wife. They both played tremendous roles. My father's played a role in my life as far as ingraining in me the work ethic that's brought me to even be here at this level. My dad always was big on conditioning. He said, we always used to watch boxing fights, and he always said, see that guy? He has the skills, but why is it that the other guy beat him? It's because he was out conditioning the guy who had the abilities and the skills. He said, hey, son, I don't ever want that to be you, to where you become a fighter where you have a lot of skills and abilities, but you weren't physically, conditionally prepared. So that's one thing my dad's taught me, is number one has to be your physical condition, and everything comes after. So I fight, and any of my fights, I'm always in tip-top shape. Or the ones that I lost where I did get buckled, but I was in such good shape, I was able to come back and rally to get a victory, but obviously I didn't. But that's really been, my dad's been such a positive influence and patience leading up to this fight. He told me just, you gotta have patience. Good things come with patience, just like the stocks, remember? You gotta be patient. So my dad has really been a mentor, not only in boxing, but in my life, just financially. teaching me how to manage my money, teaching me where to put my money when I get money, so I know what to do with that money. Um, man, my dad's taught me a lot. It's been a blessing.
Well, thank you. I'll say that when my father was alive, he would always say the game is won and lost on the practice field or in the gym. So keep up that good work. I'm glad to hear we're going to see a new player. Thank you.
Good player, that's right.
Awesome. Crystal, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, Dylan Boker.
Hey there, Andy. I was just curious because earlier you were talking about some past struggles getting that world title crack, politics of the game being involved. I mean, you're part of an event now where, successful purse bids were put out there for, not even just one undisputed title fight, but a pair of them. Like, is there any level of bolstered confidence you have affiliating yourself with Triller in as far as facilitating getting that world title crack?
Oh yeah, well I know that, and that's another thing too, is I know in the back of my mind winning this fight is just it's not even about, everyone says, oh, how do you feel fighting for the title? It's not really the title. It's not that. Like I tell people, I held the title for 3 years and that didn't do anything for me. I'm not really fighting to win a title. I'm not fighting for the title. I'm fighting to win the fight, the actual fight, because I know winning this fight, I know what it's gonna do for my career. So that's what's important to me, is I know the people that I'm fighting on this platform. I know that winning this fight is gonna give me the opportunity to fight for something bigger that I've never fought for. And that's already written, and that'll be left up to whoever's, behind, obviously, the whole promotional. But I do feel, look, that the purse bids that these fighters are getting, the purse that I'm getting, they don't want to bash anybody, but it's the most I've ever gotten in my whole career with my past promoter. I mean, there's even holding the title, didn't even see half of that. So, I mean, then you realize why some of these fighters are doing these purse bid fights, because they just want what's fair. Some of these fighters want what's fair. We risk our lives on the line. I know we see a lot of boxing fights go to decisions, and it seems more like a sport. There's been a lot of people that died this past year in the sport of boxing and outside of boxing. So it's not a game. It's a sport, but this sport of boxing is not a game. It's sad how many fighters died inside the ring due to weight cuts, due to too many punches. It's like, man, these are young kids, 23 years old, with the future. One of them that stood out to me was the Dadashev fight. Like, man, that guy used to fight on my undercards. Like, awesome fighter. Like, that was sad, left behind his mother and kids. So it's just the things as us boxers, I think we start thinking about when we get older and get wiser and smarter. Like, we're not gonna fight for something like this. It has to make sense. That's what it is. It has to make sense for the fighter at the level you're at. And I just felt this fight made a lot of sense in every aspect for me. The opportunity wise, purse wise, it's like, man, like, why wouldn't I? Why can't I? So I'm very hopeful and very positive that winning this fight, being with this, fighting on Triller, pay-per-view, having this exposure, I think it's definitely going to open that door for me. Yes.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for the time and insights.
No worries.
Great, Dylan. Thank you. Next up is Carlos Toro.
Hey, Andy, thanks so much for taking time to talk to us. I apologize if any of these questions were asked before I came in here a little late, but you just mentioned about the whole purse bids and Trillers, and obviously Teofimo and George Cambosos and the massive purse bid that comes with that. Do you believe, obviously with Triller now sort of being in the game, putting the money that they've been putting on, do you believe that there might be sort of a bit of a paradigm shift in a way where Triller is putting out all this money, so it now kind of forces all these other promoters to sort of step up, and we kind of see a sort of bigger increase in purses for these fighters?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, I know that's something something that they don't want, and many promoters probably don't want, just because it's like, well, it's costing us this, it's costing us that. But if you look at boxing, it's always the fighters getting the short end of the stick, as far as everyone gets a piece of the pie, and what are they left with, you know? And that's just everywhere. But I mean, look at I'm one of the professional fighters. I feel I'm not sure. I haven't looked at the history of all the other fighters on the card. My first fight check as a pro boxer, fighting locally, I used to have to sell tickets just to generate that money of sold tickets to fight on cards. Up until I was 12-0, I got signed to a promoter, and things changed from there, right? But I was selling 50 to 100 tickets just to fight on cards. I was getting $1,000. My first fight, $1,000. My next fight was $900, because they took off the medical insurance and whatnot. I was making only $900 to $1,000 up until I was 12-0. I fought a co-main event, Fox Sports 1, sold out the venue. I believe I sold more than 300 tickets. That was my biggest purse for $3,000, and I was so happy. I was 12-0, 9 knockouts, and I don't forget it. 12-0, 9 knockouts. Then I got signed, and the money jumped up a little bit, but it wasn't too crazy to what I thought. But you look at it, and it's like, it's all for a dream, right? This is my dream. This is why I continue to do boxing, because I'm so passionate. It's my dream. I really do hope there's a shift and a change for these fighters fighting like George Kambosos, Teofimo. These are guys that are fighting at a level where all it takes is one punch to change someone's life and someone's career. And I feel, look at the network. You got Triller, you got DAZN, you got ESPN. These are mega networks that have the money to put up. I just think it all comes down to what are they willing to pay these fighters. And I'm glad there's this option for fighters to put fights at a purse bid, especially on championship levels, because, as a fighter, just like Teofimo, he felt insulted. To where he was like, you guys are going to pay Loma this much, but I'm not going to get this much. Like, what's going on here? Like, and that's why he did what he did. And I feel it was very smart on his end. He's seen the most he's seen in his career. George Kambosos has seen the most money he's ever seen in his career. And the managers did their job. Whoever played a role in the managers, I know my manager's manager with George Kambosos. So that's what a manager does, is a manager does what's the best for his fighter. And I really, really hope there's a change in as far as the purse bids for